Right, this is round one lower bracket game between Lizard and Pip. I've reinstalled OBS. It hasn't fixed my webcam. I don't know what's going on with that. I'm really hoping that I've put all the settings in OBS back to the way they should be. So who knows? Maybe you'll be watching this on a tiny little fraction of the screen or something like that. So let's get down to business. We're on Dreamcatcher, and as I've mentioned before, I always think this is a Terran favourite map. When I say stuff like that, I wouldn't let that put you off significantly. In general, in EMS, in the EMS league, most people aren't really operating at the level where they're making best use of the terrain and stuff. So I wouldn't really worry about it. This is going to be Terran versus Toss. Lizard, our Terran player, is going to be coming across the map here to scout. Presumably, I don't think this SCV is going to be dropping any proxies or anything like that. No, Straight Line comes in, has a quick look around, is going to just harass some of these workers. Pip does manage to get the surround though and kill the SCV, and that's a little unfortunate. Do bear in mind, if you are scouting and a worker gets surrounded, workers kill other workers pretty slowly. So when it's fully surrounded, if you grab it and right click on the minerals, it will walk underneath the other workers and escape. Workers have the ability to go under other units when they're mining, but only when they're mining. So if you right click on the minerals, the SCV is therefore mining, and it will just go underneath all the other units. So that's generally how you get a worker out of a tight spot like that. So a couple of zealots coming out for Pip, and they're going to stand guard on the front door to stop any other scouts. Lizard has gone for a pretty respectable timing on this command center. So looking very straight up, he's got the double barracks, both with tech labs, and that's a little unusual. There's no tech lab research happening, but there is a factory building, so I am slightly curious about that. As I say that, he does start up combat shield, and that's absolutely fine. Yeah, sometimes you would see a second tech lab built if you were sort of rushing to get, say, siege tanks or something like that out. So you do the old switcheroo and swap the factory for the barracks so that you get that faster timing. But instead of that, the factory is going to go ahead and build its own tech lab. So I'm not sure about the double tech lab here. No matter, it does mean that you can build Marauders 2 at a time, although at present no Marauders being built. So not sure what the purpose behind that was. Anyway, this command center is up and mining. This worker, the freaking out, is trying to get down there to mine, presumably. This command center is rallied down there, but nothing can actually get out at present. So Lizard's going to have to lower some of these depots to get out through the door. Given that you're mining down here, I think I'd prefer to see the siege tank in this type of location with the Marines at the front door. Or possibly even up here or here, so that it can shell this ramp. But no matter. Over in Pip land, triple gate, which is fine. No warp gate research being done just yet. So Pip would really ideally start to get that warp gate research up and coming, so that you can get your units out a little bit quicker. I have no idea what these guys are doing just out in the middle of the map. Nor really where this guy's going. So that's interesting. Maybe they're just hanging out. Anyway, Pip's worker is going to come in here and see this. He's also going to see this slightly early worker transfer. And the Marines are going to come down and see that off pretty handily. So Pip has confirmed then that his opponent is working on a third base, and that's going to make him slightly worried, because his natural base is not yet fully saturated. Army supplies at present are even, but look at this massive worker advantage that Lizard's got. So if Pip attacks now, in theory he wins. Stalkers are better than Marines. It's as simple as that. The Protoss army, even though the army supplies are similar, if we were to look at army value, you can see that the Protoss army is much more expensive, both in terms of minerals and in terms of gas as well. So it is and actually the army supply now has gone into the lead for PIP in terms of supply, but the Protoss army is still the more expensive army. So in general, in theory, the more expensive army should win, really. It doesn't always work out like that, because some units just kind of trump other units. But nevertheless, there was a time there when PIP could have marched across the map and potentially won. The siege tank in the back here would have definitely made it hard work to break here, but he could have broken into this base and shut it down pretty handily. However, that isn't the thing that he's done, and as time goes on, you'd have to expect, with this huge worker lead and this pretty substantial income advantage, that it's only a matter of time before Lizard just kind of walks away with they still can't get out. He needs to drop this one as well. Walks away with just too big an army advantage, and now that he's building a lot of mech units, even the quality of this Terran army is going to exceed the quality of the Protoss army. Even more problematic than that, though, is let's have a look at the upgrades. At the 11-minute mark, really, you should have some upgrades on the go. And look, we've got 1-1 for the Terran Bio, we've got +1 for the Terran Mech, we've got Combat Shield, we've got Stim, we've got Concussive Shell, we've got all of those things. And on the Protoss side, nothing, not a single upgrade. No Blink, no Charge. And this is an entirely gateway focused army. There's no tech structures here. There's no robo. There's nothing like that. So these are as flimsy as Protoss units can get. So PIP, you do have to think about that as the game progresses. In general, there's never, there's seldom any need to rush to upgrades, rushing out 1-1 and stuff. I don't know about these pair flying forward. These are great units. They could siege up this location and this location, make it really, really difficult. Now, I'd love to see these siege tanks just sieging up in position here behind this, and then the Liberators will give sight over the top. But ultimately, despite this pretty messy engagement from the Terran, with none of the Terran mech really doing anything in the back there, none of the siege tanks sieged up. Finally, they sieged up and start putting out some hurt. It was not a well-orchestrated engagement by any stretch of the imagination, but it just doesn't really matter. The Terran army is just so much bigger, so much beefier, and has way better upgrades. I'd love to see a medevac to heal up these bio units. This is an unusual mix of units. Generally you don't see Thors and Marines. You either go mech or you go bio. And if you go bio, you've got a lot of Marines, you've got a lot of medevacs to heal them, and you've got siege tanks to support them. If you're going to be cranking out the Thors, what are the Marines adding? Not much, really. So you would generally just put your focus on building more Thors and upgrading those Thors. None of that's going to matter, though. The Protoss army just wasn't big enough, and it just wasn't advanced enough. So it is Lizard, or iizard, that is going to take that first game. GG.